Matt Bernier with the DRFBets races of the day for Thursday, August the 9th. Race number 8 up at Saratoga Racecourse, 1 mile on the inner turf. This is the New York Stallion Series for 3-year-old fillies. Before we dive into the field, I'd encourage you to head on over to drf.com/bet. Get all the latest as far as offers and details are concerned for a new DRFBets account. Again, drf.com/bet is the address. Let's take a look at the field. You can head on over to the Race of the Day page on drf.com and also download Formulator past performances for free. You can go along and handicap as I go right through in post position order as we take a look at this field. Number 1 is By Self, going out for Rick Violet. This is a horse by Noble Causeway. Noble Causeway, 4% with the first-time turf runner, so not a great thing there. And then when you look at the Dam Besiege, she was 0 for 1 on turf. There's not a heck of a lot to speak about on the Dam side as a whole. So I'm not entirely convinced that turf is going to work out for this filly. You also have a negative formulator fact. If you want to take a look at this, past 2 years for Rick Violet's runners, first time turf, 1 for 13, and the only one that hit the board was the winner. $1.15 ROI. To me, this is the kind of horse going to show some speed, has really done nothing wrong in her career. She's only been at it, she's 2 for 3 overall, and she's never been at the exacta. The winner of the most recent start came back and won again with an 83 buyer. I just have no idea if she's going to be able to handle the turf, and she's probably going to be a bit of a shorter price. To me, she's one I'm just going to try to side against. 2 is Goodbye Broccoli. One of a few in here that exit a common race. That's the New York Stallion Series race that was held at Belmont Park back on June the 24th. Plenty of pace signed on that day. She's one that kind of took advantage of that. Sat off of it, came with a little bit of a run. I think there are better closers in here. I think there are better horses that can come from off of it. I understand that she makes some sense in here. Highest last out buyer in the field with an 83, but at the end of the day, there are just some other horses I'm a little bit more intrigued with other than her, but I would use her underneath if you're playing any sort of an exotic wager. The 3 is Creasy, going out for David Donk. Creasy won that New York Stallion Series race 2 starts back. Then she came back and faced older horses in a non-winners of 2 other than 4 New York breds. And unfortunately for her, she just caught a race that was totally paceless. The pace setter went out there, wired the field. You see those Timeform US color coding as far as the pace ratings and numbers are concerned. They're all blue, very, very slow, meaning it was difficult for horses coming from off of it to make up ground. She got a great pace to run at 2 starts back, and there's a real scenario where she finishes and gets some pace to run at here in a spot like this. As we can see from the Timeform US pace projector, they have the number 1 horse out there on the lead trying the turf for the first time, but most importantly, that red bar indicating a fast pace, potentially helping horses coming from off of it. I think Creasy is a must-use, but I can understand anyone's a little bit concerned about the idea of her trying 2 turns for the first time in a route of ground overall. She's going to be one of the favorites in here. Number 4 is Miss Jen. Miss Jen comes out of claiming $32,000 level races most recently. I understand she makes some sense in here, but from a buyer standpoint, she's a little bit light, and from a Timeform US standpoint, she is also a little bit light. You can look at it, though, and say at least she is in good form coming into a race like this, but you can see she was 11 to 1 most recently when she won, and 2 starts back when she finished 4th, well behind Codrington. She went off at odds of 6 to 1. Miss Jen, to me, nothing more than a fringe contender. Number 5 is Crashing Connie. Crashing Connie goes out for James Wright, coming in from Finger Lakes, trying turf for the first time. Courageous Cat, nice turf horse, not great so far as a sire of turf runners. 3.5% with the first-time turf runners. To me, this is a horse that is going to need to up her game significantly from a speed figure standpoint. She's on the lighter side. She's in the low 70s right now, but easy for me to sit here and say, she needs to get faster. She's 6 times in the exacta from 7 lifetime starts with 4 victories. So if she can transfer that form from the dirt over to the turf, she's interesting at what should be a very, very square price. The 6 is We Gets the Monies, another horse coming out of that New York Stallion Series race 2 starts back. Tried the New York Oaks most recently on dirt at Finger Lakes. She's slow on paper, but the interesting thing here for Jeremiah Englehart, the only time she has tried turf was that run 2 starts back, and it was significantly the fastest race of her career. If you think that turf is really what she wants, she's going to come from the back, and she should get some pace to run at. I maintain I don't think she is as good a closer as a horse like Creasy, but at the end of the day, you're probably going to get a much better price on this horse. And again, the best race of her career came on turf. Maybe this is what she's wanted all along for Jeremiah Englehart. Manny Franco has the mount. Number 7 is Codrington. Codrington goes out for Mike Maker. Most recently was in a $50,000 starter allowance against older horses at the Spa. Didn't really do much running. I think there was an interesting thing to take from that, though. That was over yielding ground. You go 4 starts back. She caught good ground. Didn't really pick her feet up. You have those runs 2 and 3 starts back where she ran quite well. I know they were against claiming foes, but At least if you think that she can transfer that form over, and maybe we get a little bit firmer going here on Thursday afternoon, perhaps she's a little bit interesting, and maybe she's a little bit dirtied up on paper going out. That's Codrington for Mike Maker and Florent Giroux. The number 8 is Barrel of Destiny. Barrel of Destiny has tried turf 4 times in her career. She's still a maiden. She's going to need to improve by leaps and bounds if she's going to be the slightest bit competitive. I suppose if you want to give her the benefit of the doubt, the most recent race, she was forwardly placed. There were some hot fractions being set, and it came over yielding ground. Perhaps she needs a little bit firmer to really show what she's capable of. The number 9 horse is Mentality for Wesley Ward. Likely to be one of the favorites in this spot. She goes out there, gets John Velasquez this time around. It's going to be the second time that Johnny V has ridden her in her career. Her 3 races thus far as a 3-year-old, she really hasn't run poorly in any one of them. And I think in that New York Stallion Series race, you can make the argument she ran the best race considering she was up there pressing the fractions throughout, and she just got run down late. She was a little bit late with the lead change, but she put the other speeds away. I think you have to use Mentality, but I can understand anyone that's a little bit concerned saying this pace looks like it's going to be fast again and they need to go a further distance. I picked her second in here in this spot just because the pace I might work against her again like it did in that most recent start at Belmont Park. And the number 10, the last one we'll discuss, is Starlight Mission for Gary Contessa. Broke the maiden most recently with Joel Rosario aboard. They retained the services of Rosario here in this spot. She figures to be forwardly placed, at least relatively close to the front end, but you've got a pretty tough formulator fact here for Gary Contessa. Past 5 years, dirt to turf maiden winner last out, 0 for 15, and only one of them have hit the board. From a speed figure standpoint, she needs to improve, but again, another one, it's interesting to note, 3 starts back. I know it was still a maiden race, and she didn't actually win that day, but the 72 Buyer, that's the fastest she has ever run thus far in her career. Starlight Mission is going to be a price breaking from the outside. So there you have it. That's the field for the New York Stallion Series race. And I'm only talking about the turf runners. I'm not going to talk about the MTOs. At the end of the day, this is an interesting race. I don't know that there are any standouts in here, but pick time, I'm going to go with the number 3, Creasy. I just think she might be the best closer in this race. I liked what she did 2 starts back, and I really liked what she did most recently, considering she was severely compromised with the lack of pace in there. I think she gets much more to run at this time around. I think you also want to use a little bit of Mentality, but I'm afraid of the distance and the pace situation that might cook her a little bit. I'm going to go 3-9. In the 8th at Saratoga on Thursday. That is the DRFBets race of the day, the New York Stallion Series event. Again, if you are playing this race or any of the other races on Thursday from the spa, check out DRFBets. All sorts of great deals for you, especially with new sign-up members. Head on over to drf.com/bet. That is the address. You get all the latest from DRFBets. Scheduled post time for the New York Stallion Series race. Race number 8 on Thursday at the spa. The DRFBets race of the day is 5:02 Eastern. Best of luck.